Today I'm working on an old bird feeder that has been sitting on my shop floor for over a year. As you can see, it's literally falling apart, but it seems to be mainly due to the old glue and rusted pins. I've already botched a repair years ago, so I'll undo that to start with. I can only apologize for the blur sometimes, as I'm still new to recording. The base seems to be in very good condition still. I used nails on my last repair here, and it's a bit of a pain. The joints are paint free, so I'm hoping the glue will bind these pieces together, but just to make sure, I'll reinforce with screws. This glue is suited for colder temperatures when cured, so it should work out just fine. Reinforcing the joints. I'd prefer using dowels, but I don't have any, so I have to use screws. But I think as long as I'm careful enough with my pre-drilling and I don't over-tighten, the screws should work out just fine. The base is solid, but it's just a tiny bit too small on either side, so I have to cut two new pieces to fit. And as it got colder just the very next day, it's a bit too cold for the glue to cure, so I have to screw this piece in place. Starting the reassembly. Since the house itself is in two pieces at the moment, it didn't really matter where I started. These pieces needed more decent fastening to make sure that it looks nice and keeps the structure somewhat even. I only had screws that were that long, so it had to go in askew. To connect the two parts of the structure, I also use screws with pre-drilled holes to avoid any cracks. These two end pieces had broken off, but luckily there were 4 redundant pieces beneath the base that I could use. The epoxy I had been sitting on the shelf of my shop during the cold spot, so it was kinda hard, but I believe it's still good. The roof is in terrible condition. There's some rot, there's a lot of moss. It's generally falling apart. I really like the detailed cut on the top, and I would try to save it, but even I can tell that it's just too much work to try and salvage this. So I'll have to remake some plates for the roof. This board is wide enough that 3 pieces will cover the width on either side. For this cut, I use my vise as leverage because I'm right-handed and not yet comfortable enough making a straight cut with my left hand. Just to help with a bit of strength and general alignment, I decided to use plugs. I cut the boards slightly oversized, so that I would have enough room to make small mistakes, which I usually tend to do, but my layout method, as shown here, seems to work just fine for my use. After the glue had set, I ran it through a planer because there was a slight curve in the board that I used. And here I am dismantling the old roof. The new roof plates get a lick of heavy-duty paint to help withstand the elements before they're dressed in some old shingle I had laying around. I use a spray adhesive just to get a nice, more even, firm fit. The feeder is now green, a bit too green perhaps, so some detail work is due. These ledges that the birds sit on will do nicely colored white. The roof plates are ready for finishing and assembly. This is how I adjust the corners so that the shingle would overlap without any bumps or bare spots. marking the layout for the ridge pieces as they are connected to the roof plates. I really should have thought ahead and cut the sides to fit where the roof meets. But a spare piece of shingle that I already needed to put on covers that nicely. The reason I needed that extra piece of shingle on top was because I had to screw the roof plates into the adjoining wall pieces, and that meant going through the first layer of shingles, and I didn't want to go through the wall into the roof with a screw. This is the box that holds the bird seeds, and apart from the rusty old pins, it seemed fine, so a couple of new screws did the trick. And there it is, the finished bird feeder. Now all I need is a post to put it on. Thanks for watching.